App Store optimization changed my life. I know that's a bold statement, but hear me out. I went from $0 to $4,000 with my iOS apps, only focusing on ASO. And in this video, I'm gonna share everything I know about this, and I'm gonna tell you how to use my Claude Code skill for free to do App Store optimization on your apps. So we'll start with a quick introduction. Should you even care about this video? Should you care about App Store optimization? And if you build apps, in 95% of cases, yes, you should. This is a free marketing channel that works for you. You don't work 24/7 to get new installs. You mostly do the job once, and then you get more installs from different countries in the world. The only case that I can think when you should not care about App Store, if you are really focused on ads, or for example, some viral content, and you expect a lot of people to go and search your specific name in App Store, and in that case, you don't really care. The next thing is, when do we think about App Store? What key things you should really have in mind? So I think there are 4 key ideas. So first is App Store Connect page data. So name, subtitle, keywords, promo, description, all of this data must be localized and properly written. Second is definitely screenshots. This will be something that 100% of people look at and actually make a decision based on your screenshots. Then we have app localization, and I would say that billing localization comes on the last place. So 4 things, and I built a Claude Code skill that I personally use that will help you to finish all of these tasks not leaving your terminal. It's a free skill. You can download it from GitHub. There is a very simple installation process. I highly recommend downloading it and kind of making your own copy so you can fine-tune so you are not restricted to the things that are currently in the skill. But throughout the video, I will reference this skill and will tell you how Claude Code or any other agent can do the things that you need to do. So just install it, ask Claude to make a copy of it, and just follow along. So we kind of established the foundation that you should focus on ASO, and you should focus on those 4 things. Now let's talk a little bit more specific about each thing. So first is App Store Connect page. This is probably one of the most important things because it impacts the key idea of ASO. Will you be shown to a user? So let's think about this situation. We have a user that wants to install a calorie tracker app. They don't have any preference in their head, so they just kind of want to solve this problem. They go into App Store, and usually they just go to search, and they literally type calorie tracker. This is a pattern that a lot of people, follow. Again, some people might see your ad, and they will go directly to your page, or maybe see a viral content, and like, yeah, I need a calorie tracker. But again, most of the people will go with this idea. So now they have a list of apps. So first they see kind of suggestions. That's the first moment they see recommended apps, and then they see a list of apps with screenshots. Basically, ASO will help you to win in both, but we'll try to talk a little bit more about the list with screenshots. So same with SEO. Most people will click on the apps in the top 5. Even after top 3, the percentage, the CTR drops dramatically. So you always want to be in the top 3, but realistically, for many competitive keywords, you want to be in top 10. That's a good number. Top 10 can be good because, easy to scroll on iPhone. Some apps will not really resonate with people, maybe the screenshots, something of. So you want to be in top 10. And here is the most important part. So obviously App Store has some algorithm how they decide what apps to be shown. And this is like a black box, nobody obviously knows, same as SEO, but we have some ideas. And there are a few important things to have in mind. First is some people will use calorie tracker term. Some people will use AA calorie tracker. Some people will use maybe a protein tracker. Some people will say like logging food app. And a lot of people will use their native language. So we obviously think about English, but most of the world doesn't use English as their language to find apps. And they will use Spanish, French, Indonesian, any other language to find the app. And you obviously want to have proper keywords in your App Store Connect page to be shown. And sometimes having keyword is not enough. You also need to have a very good reputation, a lot of reviews, a lot of user metrics, but in a lot of times, you just need to have a keyword because, for example, not a lot of companies focus on, let's say, French meal logging app keyword. Maybe not a lot of people focus on it, and maybe you should. And just having this keyword will put you in the top 10 position. So in App Store Connect, there are a lot of inputs, but for us, the most important are name, subtitle, and the keywords. There are promo and description, and my Claude Code skill will give you them, but realistically, they are not that impactful. First of all, let's be honest, nobody reads description before downloading apps, maybe just like a very tiny percentage of people. Secondly, it's just lower level of impact on the whole thing. So we mostly should be laser focused on three inputs. It's name, subtitle, and keywords. And those three inputs and others, they can be localized in 50 locals. So different languages and different variations. So for example, you have Spanish for Spain, you have Spanish for Argentina, I think, you have different variations of English, UK English, Australian English, and all of those locals you can see in the App Store page, and you will need to have a unique copy for each and one of them to maximize your chances to being shown in this version of App Store, right? So here are a few tips for everything. First, the name is obviously the most important one. This is I guess, the number one factor, number one keyword. And number one tip is to start with a keyword. That's a very simple thing. Start with the main keyword you have: calorie tracker, water reminder, I don't know, app blocker, whatever. You start with the keyword, and then you follow up with name or maybe secondary keyword, right? For example, water reminder, stay hydrated. I'm not sure if that will be under 30 characters, but you get the idea. Or, water reminder and then some name like Waterly. So why start with keyword? The idea is very simple. When people go and search water reminder, you will have higher chances showing in that suggestion list. So not the result page, but suggestion list, if your keyword is in the beginning of your name. Because if it's in the second part, you just have lower chances. Very simple tip. Again, I think it's an easy thing to do. So I definitely don't recommend having just a very short name, just, Waterly. Again, it works. For example, you only care about ads, completely understood, and no worries. But if you want to maximize organic traffic, have the keyword. Same for the subtitle, less important, still very important. Here, I try to have secondary keywords. It's not always possible because maybe, there is a better way to. So here's the thing. For example, we have a water reminder. And maybe I think that there is a very significant case of people who will need this for their Apple Watch. Apple actually is very against for you to have Apple Watch in the metadata, especially in the subtitle and name. So I would have something like reminder for phone and watch. Subtitle kind of has this combination of reminder watch, reminder phone. So they also kind of good. Use subtitle properly. Don't waste it. Don't write anything like, oh, just have fun and stay hydrated. No, just use again for the keyword. Find relevant secondary keywords, use them in your subtitle. And then we have a keyword field. This is like 100 characters. You have keywords, comma separated. Here are a few key tips from me. First, don't repeat the keyword from the name. So if your name starts water reminder, don't start the keyword with water reminder. You can have a variation, for example, AI water reminder, if that's your thing, and you think a lot of people will search for AI. So I would tend to use AI water reminder and not just AI. I'm not sure. I don't have any empirical data which one is better, but I try to be with keywords specific as possible. So if I see that the keyword has popularity, I just use the same keyword, not a variation of this. Have multiple keywords. Try to have super relevant keywords to your app. So for example, let's say we have a calorie tracker. I would not have the keyword, for example, like, muscle gain, or they are relevant somewhat to the niche, but like I try to think, will the person who searches for this kind of, be my target audience? Maybe, but maybe not. And I try to get more relevant. So for example, meal logging. That's a good, because that's what a person wants. They want a calorie tracker with, meal logging. We understand the intent really well, but like with some keywords, I think the intent might be somewhere else, and you might be shown, but you will not get installs. So try not to add very generic. Sometimes Claude Code can give you generic ones when searching Astro. My recommendation is to double check them. So how to decide which keywords to put? The best tip is to use a keyword research tool, not your own judgment, but some empirical data. I personally use Astro. It's really good. There are some limitations. For example, their popularity metric, as any other keyword tool, is somewhat a proxy to a real number, because Apple kind of made this number non-public a few months or years ago. So it's kind of a proxy. Everything is a proxy in keyword research, but I think Astro is really good. They have an MCP, and I personally use it. I tried to build my own version without Astro that reverse engineers a lot of things and generates different popularities. Maybe I will release this. Let me know if you are interested. It kind of turned out not bad, but I'm not sure I'm willing to 100% rely on this. So use Astro. Your AI agent can use it with MCP. You can use it yourself. The key idea is to understand the 5-7 main keywords that you're going to use. And my own preference, I understand them in English, and I try to just have their versions in other languages. So I'm not spending weeks to understand what German versions are. I just get the US versions, the English versions, and I try to just localize them in any other language. Maybe it's not the best approach, but I don't have all time of the world to understand what will be the best phrase in the Polish to search for water reminders. Claude Code does really well with translation, and that's a very simple task. So name, subtitle, keywords, focus on this. Promo and description, they are okay. Have some decent text there, but don't expect too much. So this goes with App Store Connect copy page. Next one is screenshots. This is very important, and I can't stress enough how important the visuals are. People scan visuals way faster than text, and this impacts their decision way more than many indie hackers, kind of think. I tend to open different app pages of indie hackers that build iOS apps, and then I see some horrendous, absolutely terrible AI-generated screenshots, which just scream of low quality. And then these people complain they don't get installs. Of course, you don't get installs. Your screenshots, they look garbage. And yes, maybe some people will not care, some 60-year-old people that do not find the difference. But if you try to sell even to millennials, they can pretty well understand the difference between good screenshot and AI generated screenshot. So please never, never, never generate those AI screenshots from scratch when when you basically get the full page with everything generated, the font, the interface, the text. Don't do this. It works terribly. I know that you saved 30 minutes of your time, but it's not worth it because it impacts so much. So I found a way better approach with screenshots, and I think, is very smart. I'm going to tell you all about. So first, what you need to do is to make, let's say, I try to maybe 3 to 6 screenshots of your app on the phone, the most important screen, something that really impacts. If you have a water reminder app, the main screen, maybe the notifications, maybe the some customization, if you have some mascot, different versions. Okay, so you made 6 screenshots. Then what we will do is we will paste them to a Figma template that I created. And it's very simple. It's just, a canvas with an iPhone mockup. You paste the screenshots to it and select a background color. It can be a color of your app. You have some main primary color. It can be white, can be black, whatever. Something that works properly. And you will have a bunch of screenshots that, are finished, but without the text. And this is what we want. We want just the background and the iPhone mockup with screenshot. One thing here is some people will come and say, oh, your screenshots look too basic. Sure, you can have more advanced screenshots. You can have the screenshots that, kind of cropped in half and starting next screenshot, whatever works for you. This is the best approach, and I think the simplicity here is really what user want. Not a single user asked, oh, I want 10 screenshots and all of them should be so sophisticated and that's why I will install the app. No, they want simplicity. They want understanding what your app is about, just getting these, I understand it, I want it, that's it. If you think that you need 10 screenshots for this, fine, but I don't think so. So then what you will do, you will download these screenshots, put them in the folder, and tell AI to localize them. Again, this is a sub-skill in the skill that I provide. Here's what will happen next. You will decide with AI agents on the headings that you will burn in on those screenshots. For example, stay hydrated every day, simple and fun tracking, like non-intrusive reminders. You will think that those are your headings, and then it will burn in the text just like it will look like in the Figma, and then it will localize the headings in 50 locals and burn them too. So you will not spend hours doing this manually in Figma and creating a huge number of images. AI agent will do everything, and it's really simple and it works flawlessly. You can work with some style. I think the fonts that I picked are really good. They work good in English, they work good in other like Cyrillic, Arabic languages, or for example like Chinese, Japanese, and I try to pick a font that works really well. I highly recommend having alternative backgrounds every image, so it kind of a little bit creates a contrast. For example, red, white, and in that case you will want, for example, on the red to have a white heading and on the white background to have a black heading. Again, AI agent will walk you through what data it needs from you. For example, it will align on the colors, it will align on the headings, and you will have 50 localized screenshots. And again, maybe in just 3 minutes of your time. A few tips here. For most apps, for all of my apps, I create iPad version. I don't think it's that popular, but it kind of takes me maybe 15 more minutes. You just need to ask Claude Code to enable some settings, make sure the layout on iPad is not screwed, and then you just need to create screenshots for iPad. Use simulator to just build them because you probably don't have iPad. One thing is, what I struggle with is on iPad, if you in the simulator, at least that's a tip from me, I couldn't make the in-app purchases work because it doesn't log in the Apple account to make those sandbox purchases. So for all of my apps, I have a debug button that like give pro access. So in that case, and I also have add sample data. So just two buttons to make the screenshots process way easier. I just build the simulator, click give pro access, add sample data, and then create screenshots. And again, the whole process just takes maybe 5 minutes total. So for all apps, I have iPhone version, iPad version, and if your app supports watch version, you should upload Apple Watch screenshots. For them, you don't need any localization because there is no text. You just basically screenshot the Apple Watch interface. That's it. And it's the same screenshot for all locals. Should you upload localized screenshots? I would personally not do this because it's too much work. It's kind of like, it's just, I don't think it's worth the effort. If you think you have, let's say, 10 really popular locals, maybe do it. I personally didn't do this, and Cloud Code skill doesn't cover it, but you can probably do this. So this is screenshots. Very important thing, invest time in your screenshots. They are the most important thing on your page that impacts the conversion. So name, subtitle, keyword impacts your discoverability. Screenshots impact your conversion. Also, app icon, but you don't localize app icon. It's one for all locals. My tip would be don't create an atrocious AI version just, from one prompt. You can create AI images, and I created AI images, but you kind of need to maybe create them kind of separately and then assemble in a Figma. Yeah, my tip would be, if you're still creating AI images of your icons, maybe rethink that part too, because you can tell when they look AI very fast. So the second thing is done. The third thing, let's finish with App Store page, is billing. Billing is kind of an optional step. You don't need to localize billing, but let's think with your watch reminder app. It's a simple app, only local data. We have no servers. Everything happens on the device. You just ship it. You don't have any recurring costs, right? So it's only revenue minus Apple Cut. Ask yourself a question. Let's say you price the app, whatever, $19 US yearly. Would all of our localization make sense if you make, for example, a Thai person to download your app, you made the Thai App Store Connect metadata, Thai screenshots, Thai language in the app, and then they see $20 and they just can't afford this. Of course, rich Thai people can afford this, but again, the average Thai person will have struggled because $20 for them and $20 for US is just two different $20. And some of them will afford this better than US, but let's be honest here. Most won't. And for you, there is no disadvantage to localize the pricing, to make it not $20 but $10, or even with Thai, I would probably even make it like maybe $6 or $7. And yeah, it makes no sense to skip this step. If your app has zero costs, localize the pricing, you will get more conversions from those countries. So here's how I think about localization. There are different approaches. You can have a custom parity pricing, Netflix, Big Macs, GNI. I personally, in my latest iteration, discovered this GNI approach, which is a little bit custom. So I have the first tier. It's all the rich countries, US, Europe, maybe some rich Asian countries. They get the full price of everything. Then we have 40% discount, which is like Eastern Europe, Latin America, some Asian countries, which are above average, but not that above. So you would not compare these countries with US or Germany or UK or Australia. And then we have a big discount, which is 70% discount, which is basically like everyone else, like Africa, more developing countries in Asia and Latin America. And this update worked really well for me. Again, you should not expect that suddenly Thailand will be #1 revenue country, but it will change the situation from getting zero sales from Thailand to getting some sales of Thailand. And I think that, what matters. It's a simple change. It doesn't cost you anything. I highly recommend doing this. If your app has some, for example, AI costs, here's the thing. Be honest with yourself. You probably have a fat margin on every user. AI costs nowadays are so low because there are so many cheap models that are really good for simple tasks. You probably have a very, very fat margins. And my recommendation would be keep fat margins on rich countries and make them a little bit thinner on developing countries, but get the sales. If you struggle with sales, you can always update them in the future. But if your goal is to go from, $0 or 1K to being ramen profitable and focusing full time, localize your pricing. Yep. The pricing is pretty much done. You do it in the App Store. So you create like a subscription and then AA agent just updates the pricing. It's very tedious job if you want to do it manually in the page. So I highly recommend doing everything from terminal, and my skill will help you with it. One thing is for other skills too, but like this is kind of the thing that you will need to give agent some access to your App Store Connect. So it can't upload things without it. But again, it's your skill. It stays locally. I don't get access to your App Store Connect. I definitely don't recommend communicating discount in the paywall. You got a discount to US. That can be slightly controversial to review team. That's a gray zone for sure. If you just say Thai people get $7, annual plan, that will be fine. The billing is pretty much done here. Optional step, but highly recommended. Yeah. Be careful with some Big Mac and Netflix. They sometimes tend to, for example, make the price smaller for rich countries like Taiwan. Because Taiwan, there is like some tricky thing that their currency is weak, so they get more profit from export. And when I did first the Big Mac index, I was surprised the discount that they got compared to what I would probably give them. So yeah. The final thing is app localization. And that's, a very important thing too, because if you got discovered, got converted the user to download, and maybe even your pricing looks good, but your app is not localized in their language, and they expected, because of all of this, that it will be localized, you at best will get a confused user. At worst, you will lose a sale at the very last moment. And again, all my apps, all of the websites I discover and browse in English, and for me it's native at this point. But for a lot of people it's not, and they will have better time interacting with your app in their local language. Some of the apps are really complicated, maybe. Obviously, Water Reminder is a simple app, but if your app is a little bit more complex, a little bit more technical terms, they might have easier times. I highly recommend localizing your app in many languages, but not all. So here's the thing about languages. First of all, do a simple search. Open Revenue Cat or whatever you use and find the most installs, the most revenue that you got from different countries. Find like top 20 countries. That's your focus on number one. I personally have a list of 28 countries that from my experience have the best conversion, like in installs. So they are like active. Maybe something is missing, maybe something I will add. You know, it's always like a choice. It's just a little bit extra effort for the portfolio. But I have 28. I would recommend starting maybe 15, 20 if that's your first batch of work, just to not get overwhelmed. The most tricky part about app localization is to find all the strings to localize. So obviously some things are easy. Welcome to Water Reminder app. And you just localize it, done. And for example, like track your daily hydration level. You find the string, you localize. But there are a lot of strings that are kind of hidden, and if you vibe code your app, you might not even know about this because they're kind of not a string but a return and it's generated. I spend a lot of time perfecting my audit skill that find all the strings, but I heavily recommend for you to double check that. And the skill is for Swift native. If you use something else, it likely will not work out of the box and you will need to do some improvements to it, some polishment. Double check the first localization of your app because maybe you have something else, maybe the apps that I build are not as complex as yours. Double check this. A lot of strings can be, not localized. So the task is pretty simple. You put every string in your app in basically like localization function, and then it references the dictionary. And it shows the translated version. A few tricky parts. First, don't forget to add a setting to pick a language because by default you will have like a system language selected, but maybe for the user they don't like it. Maybe the default is Spanish, but they are more comfortable in English. So in the setting, pick an option to select an English version. I think my skill already does that for you. Second thing, it can be slightly tricky if you have Apple Watch, for example, and iPhone. You kind of need double dictionaries or maybe app groups. So it's a little bit tricky, and I would definitely recommend paying attention to this. Third thing is, when you localize the app, not everything should be localized. So obviously, if you want some basic phrases, sure, but maybe some terms, some names should not be localized, and especially like in the sport can be some terms that just are used in other languages too. Pay attention to this, especially on the few runs. In my skill, I think Agent builds a dictionary per app, so it's very convenient, but it's not bulletproof. And definitely when you localize the app, test it because things can get wrong. This is like the hardest part because there are so many variables here. Localize your app. I have 28 languages, but definitely localize it. Yeah, so that's 4 horsemen of App Store optimization. A few things that might get you, maybe you're confused about them, and I will give you like just a blitz answers. First, what to use to translate things. I personally have a setup in which I use DeepSeek API because it's dirt cheap. There is no other word. They announced the price increase, but there are no still specific things. You can use any other. Recently, OpenAI reduced the API pricing on Luna, Gemini, maybe Grok. Use a cheap model because that's a fairly simple task to localize a bunch of strings, a bunch of text in other languages. The only thing that matters on the quality is how much context you provide about the app. So, for example, if you have a Water Reminder app, AI agent just needs to understand the context of the app, some terms that they should not touch, whatever. Use a cheap API. If you don't want to use API, for example, you are on the max plan, you have a lot of free usage, use sub agents. In my skill, I think there is like default approach that AI will ask you. I most of the time use API because it's just, doesn't eat my usage, and it's so cheap. To localize the app in 28 languages is like less than $1. So, it's next thing. You did everything. You localized App Store Connect, you localized screenshots, what to do next, how to submit them. I don't think you want to do it manually. My go-to approach is to do it from terminal. I used Fastlane and something else. When I shared that, a lot of people said, "Oh, why you use Fastlane and not other skill?" Look, you can probably adapt the skill. I used Fastlane just because that was the first thing. I'm not getting anything from them, sadly. Again, I just use it because that was the first thing and it does its job. There are no disadvantages for me. It helps me to upload builds and upload App Store metadata. So definitely use terminal, but whatever you like. The localization stays from version to version. You don't need to do it every time, except when you add new version. Pay attention. There was a bug previously that promo text in App Store gone missing. So in my skill, I think that kind of is paying attention, but I'm not sure 100%. So just when you add new version, your promo text will be gone, but you can access it from the previous version. Maybe it will be fixed in the new versions of App Store Connect. One more thing, I definitely recommend creating, a contact us button in the settings. A lot of times things can get really weird when you have so many localizations, and yeah, add it. Don't be surprised when people contact you in their native language. Germans love to do it. Everyone, when they write emails, think I speak German. At some point I might even learn it just to it's a business expense at this point. But that's pretty much it for this video. I think this is the ultimate guide, all you need to know about apps optimization. Obviously, the most important part is to build good apps that people use, that people pay for, and that kind of goes without saying. Maybe that should be in the introduction of the video. If you build absolutely crap apps, no amount of app store optimization will put them in number one. But a lot of times you can definitely improve your number of installs and amount of revenue by doing app store optimization. Again, the skill is absolutely free. Install it, duplicate it so it's your own, improve it, polish it, and do everything from your terminal. And this is the closest to marketing on autopilot that I felt with iOS apps, because it just requires me to do the task once and then I get installs for 15% of revenue from Apple. So yeah, let me know if you like this video, if you have any questions about apps optimization. Maybe you have some topics that you don't fully understand, and I will try to cover them in the next videos.